Alright, so as we get started today, this is the final show before Game of the Year. Next week, big Game of the Year awards, whatnot. We'll be doing, 2025 in review, Game of the Year, and then some 2026 predictions. Hopes, dreams, stuff like that. We should probably look back at our 2025 predictions. But yeah, that'll be next week. Because, all that's coming up on us. This week, we got, hopefully a simple short show. We got one news story. I got a few WIBE things. I got 2 food things. And a few other things. But it should hopefully be short, simple, and sweet. That's the plan. We'll see. We'll obviously see. We do have some movies. I did watch 2 movies. We got some TV. I got an anime if we have time. I don't have any games. Well, other than Pokemon, which, it's Pokemon, come on. But, speaking of Pokemon, we do actually have something to do. If I can get it working. There was a new Pocket TCG pack, and as it has been done in recently, I like to sit down and we boot up Pocket TCG and see how it works. Oh. Alright, so if I hit this... Is that showing? Oh, maybe I have to hit this one? Oops. Maybe this one? Oh, ew. Let me see what I can do about that. Okay, it's not perfect. I need to adjust the cropping, but I think it more or less works. I don't want to overcrop it. That's the other thing. Let's go 850. Okay, let's go 900. I guess let's go 1,000. Yeah, 1,000's pretty close. Let's skim 100 off the top. 100 on the top looks fine. Let's do 90 off the bottom. Okay, maybe not 100 off the... Do we have to actually take any off the bottom? Okay, maybe like 50 off the bottom. 40? 30... Okay, that looks a little better, just doing it on the fly. Alright, so here we are, back in TCG Pocket. A new pack came out, Crimson Blaze. I've already opened... Let's see how many of these packs I've opened. I've opened up 5. I've actually gotten 2 of the Megas, because in the previous pack, I sucked at getting the Megas. I was super unlucky. I got almost none of them. This time, I'm doing a little better. This time, I've already gotten 2. I've gotten Venusaur, and I've gotten Lopunny. And I got the rare Lopunny. We're going to open 10, 20 packs. We'll see how it goes. And yeah. Duosion, Spritzy, Minfu, Bouffalon. I've seen that Bouffalon card before. That Bouffalon looks familiar. There's something in this one. Okay, Charizard, Duosion. I thought there was... I swear I saw something at the end of that one. Genesect. Quick Grow Extract. Oh, crap. Burmy, Charmander, Liepard, Mienfoo, and Venusaur. There seems to be a lot of the 2-star cards. Oh, there's something back here. Oh, look at that. Look at that Xerneas. That's a nice looking Xerneas. I don't think a Yveltal's in this set. I've seen the Xerneas before. I haven't seen the Yveltal. Porygon and Blastoise. That's all 3 of the starters. That's nice to have. Magnemite, Grow Extract, Charmander, Burmy. And there's the normal Lopunny. So, like I said, I had the rare one. There's the normal one. Porygon, Ariados, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Rena. Another Venusaur. Last pack magic. There's something. Steelix. There we go. There. I was hoping there was something. I did not I know Purple Cliff put out a video already. I did not watch that video. I actually don't know much of what was in this set. I knew Lopunny was in it. And I want to say I knew about the Steelix. I think I saw it in a Wonder Trade or Wonder Grab or whatever it's called. I also just realized I don't have audio. That's over half the set. That is nice to have. Let's open another 10. I got the hourglasses. Yeah, when it comes to Megas, this pack's treating me a lot better than the last one. Look at that, I love that little Solosis. Look at that. Makuhita, Buffalant. A lot of Bulbasaurs. We've gotten that Bulbasaur a ton. I like the Sunkern and Sunflora. That one's cute. Did it freeze up? Okay, wait, what happened there? On my screen, it's frozen on Charizard. But on my phone, it's on a different thing. What? Okay, there we go. That maybe fixed it. I don't know what happened there. Backpack. There's another Lopunny. That's good. That means I could make the deck. I don't know if it's any good. Do you actually use 2 Megas in a deck? I don't know. I haven't played competitive in this in a while. And here it is. Last pack magic. Nothing. Okay, this second set of 10 was a lot less than the last set of 10. I mean, we got a few new things, but not much. What is the Lopunny like? Where is it? There it is. Flip 2 coins. This attack does not... Oh, fuck. Okay, never mind. That card's not that good. Anything with a chance just isn't that good. Like, I used a Melmet? No, Golden Go. I used a Golden Go set. And it just wasn't that good. I'm not missing that many. Missing a little over 10. But still. Here's my level up to 44. Any Megas in the Wonder Tray or Wonder Pick? Still missing... Oh, there it is. There's Blastoise. I can go for it. Still missing that Xerneas as well. I noticed that was one. Alright, let's see. Because I've got some... Yeah. Alright. Which one should I do? Oh. I don't know why it keeps freezing. Whatever. Okay, it was in the top right. Let's go. I almost went top middle. Fuck. I was close. Okay, another time. It's just Poke Gold stuff. Let's get all these. Oh, we just straight up completed the Steelix deck. Wow. And that was it. That was the only one we did. Alright, so there you go. There's Mikadono. Oh, wait, I have a thingy. I'll take that as well. So yeah, there we go. I guess let's... So we're gonna play Galaxy tonight, so I guess I should go boot that up. Close that. Yeah, I don't know why it kept freezing there. It hasn't done that before. Strange. Stranger than strange. Alright, give me a second. Let me get that over, get that up. Hit that. Oh, yeah, I did do that, didn't I? So, for Galaxy... Let me boot it up. If we hit over... I left the game open last week. Because this time we're doing the Champions Run. And because I knew we were doing the Champions Run or the Ultimate Test... I don't remember what it's called. Because I knew we were doing that. I left the game open to reserve our lives. Because we're going to need a bunch of lives for whatever this final gauntlet thing's going to be. But we got a few green stars to get before that. So in Galaxy 2 today, we need to get the last remaining green stars. Then we have to get 9,999 star bits, of which we've gotten a lot. We're like... I think we're like 2/3 of the way there. And then finally, we have to beat Champions Road, or whatever it's called, Final Gauntlet. We have to beat that. And we have to beat the hard mode, which is 1 health. I think we have to beat it, then get the star bits, then do the thing. It should be fine. It should be fine. It's been a while, but I think we'll be fine, yeah. My goal is, we'll go for like 2 hours, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, and we'll see how we're doing from there. Alright, so for gaming news, we really only have one story. I almost went in with no stories, because normally this isn't the type of thing I talk about, which is an update from Larian, developers of Baldur's Gate and Divinity. Normally that's not the kind of thing I talk about, but it was everywhere this week. It was kind of the only story people care about. We are in a post-Game Awards season, and usually post-Game Awards, there are no stories. Nothing will happen until the first week of February. I've been doing this show since 2018. Nothing will happen until, like, the first week of February. Unless, something explodes or something. Which, to be fair, has happened in the past. So, with that being said, I did put one Larian story on here, which is about generative AI. Fucking generative AI. So that's the one thing we'll talk about. And I've got a few more things for WIBE. I do have to go get something, but we'll do that in a little. We'll hopefully do that after we beat all these. I don't know. We'll see. Alright. Let's talk Larian. So, if you don't know, Larian is the studio behind Baldur's Gate 3, other notable games. I think they did the Divinity series, they did the other Baldur's Gate. I admittedly don't know how big of a studio they actually are. Like, yes, they got a lot of praise a few years ago. They did, and rightfully so. I've heard nothing but great things about Baldur's Gate 3. But currently, last week, during the Game Awards, they announced their new game, Divinity, which is a follow-up to the Divinity Original Sin series, but it's like an original game. It's not Divinity Original Sin 3. This is like a brand new thing. Even though I think they did announce Divinity Original Sin 2 on Switch this week. I think that did happen. Switch 2 specifically. But no, so this is a brand new thing. And they were doing an interview, the developers. And specifically, they mentioned during this interview that they will be using AI on the development of Divinity. Now, what does that mean? AI comes in many ways, shapes, or forms. And I am personally very much against AI, if not just for the creative reasons, then for the amount of energy and water it uses that is just going to destroy the planet. Like, oh my gosh, the amount of energy and water AI uses for such mediocre returns. The Merriam-Webster's dictionary's word of the year was slop. And that's the thing about AI, is it doesn't put out good quality content. It just puts out low quality AI slop. So the question is, what are they doing with this AI? Is it gonna be, are they gonna be putting AI assets, AI code in the game? Or is it something else? And what else is there? Well, of course, we have the answer. They're going to be using it for multiple uses, including exploring ideas, fleshing out PowerPoint presentations, developing concept art, and writing placeholder AI. Or writing placeholder text. They specified that there will be no AI art in the final product of the game. So when the game comes out in a year or two, there will be no AI in the final product. This is all purely being used for conceptual purposes. And then they stated at the end that everyone at the company is more or less okay using AI. So immediately this set off all the red flags. People, arguably rightfully so, jump to the worst possible conclusions. Because if you've seen what's been going on this year, of course people are going to take this in the worst circumstances possible, because that's what AI has been this year. The worst circumstances possible. So, exploring ideas. Are they going to have the game come up with ideas? I think it was Joseph Anderson once pitched that in the development of Fallout 4, they probably just had people put quest ideas in a bucket and then drew from that bucket to add quests into the game. Are they going to be doing that? Instead of, people putting them in a bucket, is it just going to be, random people working on the game? Is an AI going to be doing that? What does exploring ideas mean within this context? We don't know. We don't know. It could be as simple as, just looking up stuff. It could be, they say no AI art. That's not no AI writing, though. At least for the moment. Then the next thing is flesh out PowerPoint presentations. This might be the one I don't have issue with. Because imagine you're an artist on the game. And you make all these art, you make this concept art. Well, let me get it. So imagine you're a concept artist on the game, and you make all this concept art, and you want to show your boss, your superior, and they want it in a PowerPoint. Instead of you taking time out of your day to go and make that PowerPoint, just feeding an AI your images and telling it, hey, structure this into a PowerPoint. So that way it's saving you time. So that way you could either present it to your boss or continue making new concept art, any number of things. In theory, I don't mind this as much. Because here's the thing. The promise of AI, at least in theory, was that it was going to cut out all the menial busy work that humans don't want to do, to allow us more time to do the things we actually want to do. You know, like make good art. The problem is that the current corporate use of AI is the exact opposite. They're using AI to replace artists and creatives, and instead are, making more people do the menial busy work that nobody actually wants to do. That's one of the big problems with AI right now, is that we're using it to, oh, hey, look, make an image of yourself like Studio Ghibli. When instead, AI should be used to make all those stupid fucking emails that nobody actually wants to write using the specific corporate lingo or jargon that is in no way necessary. But, we have to do it because that's what corporate says. You can't just send out an email asking like, hey, Todd, how's the report going? Instead, you have to send out an email being like, hey, Todd, hope you're having a good day. I just wanted to check in and see how the report's going. Make sure you gotta remember to do this, this, and that. Like, no, that's the kind of shit people don't want to do. So in theory, using AI to just make a quick PowerPoint presentation with your concept art in it to just save you time so that way you could be making more concept art, doing the part of the job you actually like. In theory, I don't have much issue with, but it just depends on how it's being used. That's the thing. It depends on how it's being used. Next up is they're going to develop concept art. This is the one everyone's actively freaking out over. Is that they're using, in theory, people obviously took this to the logical extreme, and we'll talk about it in a minute, obviously, because there was an update to this. But they say develop concept art. Does that mean that they're not hiring concept artists? That instead of getting actual artists, they're just going to have a computer do it all? They have, of course, since refuted that. But that's the obvious concern. And finally, write placeholder texts. What sort of placeholder text would you put into your game that you wouldn't, I'd want everything to be written. And even if it's not, placeholder text should just be like a few words of hey, this is what's going to be here. I think of Skyrim. There's a bunch of books in Skyrim that nobody except for Brian David Gilbert has read. And if I was doing placeholders for those books, I wouldn't just have an AI make a placeholder. I would just be like, hey, this book is History of the Nords. This book is The Lusty Argonian. I definitely said that wrong. This book is Assassin's Guide to Poisons, or whatever the Skyrim books are. You put maybe a brief plot synopsis, placeholder text. I don't want an AI putting in all this placeholder text, because here's the thing, it's slippery slope. It starts with, oh, well, we're going to use it to write placeholder text. Oh, well, then why don't we use it to do text for Radiant quests that people don't really care about? Oh, well, then why don't we just get it to write straight up text quest? You see how that's a slippery slope? And it's the same thing for concept artists. Oh, they're starting off helping out with concept art, but then that becomes a slippery slope. Well, why don't we just replace our concept artists? Why don't we just replace our in-game artists? Why don't we put AI textures in the game? It's pushing the bar just a little bit until eventually what used to be terrible isn't terrible anymore. And the game industry loves doing this. You know, it used to be, oh, look at Todd Howard in his bad horse armor DLC. And then they push the bar until it's, oh, well, now you're buying $60 season passes for all your games. And then they push the bar, and now it's, oh yeah, games don't have cosmetics anymore. If you want any cosmetics at all, you gotta pay for them, for skins. And then it became loot boxes. And then it became, oh, well, if you want to play our game, you have to buy our subscription service that costs $5 a week. There are some serious, like, if you ever want to know how awful the gaming industry is, what, you know, is coming to console gaming, go check out the mobile game market. There are truly some awful things on the mobile game market that, you know, AAA companies are slobbering at the mouth to one day put in their games. It's terrible. So yeah, this is all just slippery slope of what's coming next. And well, yes, the slippery slope is hypothetical. It's only hypothetical today. Tomorrow it could be a completely different story. So that was the original statement. Obviously, this was an interview with Jason Schreier, and people rightfully freaked the fuck out. So the next day, they put out a statement that was, oh god, what I put down all this information. The one thing I did not put down was the guy's name. Sven Vinke? Yeah, Sven Vinke put out a statement that's like, holy fuck, guys. This has been blown way out of hand. Let me tell you what's going on. This is damage control. Just plain and simple, this is damage control. Let's talk about first. So the first thing he says is that, no, they're not replacing concept artists. In fact, they're hiring more artists now than they did before. Specifically, they now have 72 artists working at the studio. And of those 72 artists, 23 of them are concept artists. So concept art isn't going away. It's not being completely replaced by AI. And they do plan on hiring more artists soon. So they're going to continue to hire new artists. So if that's the case, then what did he mean by this? Specifically, he clarifies that when he said using AI for concept art, he meant it he meant it as a tool. When he said he's using When he said he's using AI in concept art, what he specifically meant is that they're going to be using it as a tool to explore references. That, you know, when designing a design document for a game, a movie, a show, an animated series on Netflix, you create a design document that's kind of like a show Bible, basically, and it's filled with all these references of like, hey, this is what my show is going to look like. This is the art style I want to use, and these are the references that I'm using to inform my art style. I'm specifically using animated shows because, you know, that's my wheelhouse, but also the only, like, design document I think I've ever actually seen, one of these, like, studio Bibles, is for She-Ra. I'm pretty sure I remember, like, skimming through the She-Ra one. I think it was the She-Ra one at some point or another. And I specifically remember there being like a thing where it's like, yeah, you know, we want our show to look like this. You know, these are our influences. So I fully expect something like that. So instead of, because, you know, traditionally, if you want to do something like this, you would either find like reference art books where you could pull references from, or you would just Google it. You know, Google has been the big repository for years. So instead of using art books or Google, they're just going to be using AI to do that. Now, in theory, I don't have a problem with this if it is just an AI that combs the internet for reference images and just compiles basically a design document of what you want. Basically just Google, but it's easier to do. So instead of having to, Google each individual thing, it'll compile basically a custom reference book based on what you feed the AI. So it's not like creating images, it's just pulling stuff that already exists on Google, but doing it a lot faster than a person could by hand. I know some people say, well, it's replacing jobs, because, normally that would be somebody's job. Potentially, but also, it's like what I said earlier. It's some of the more boring work that is freeing up the artist to do what they actually want to do, which is the art. If you have a computer that's like, oh, we're just going to pull, hundreds of images for you to help you get references. Whereas before, you had to do that by hand. And now you can get a computer to do that in like a 100th of the time. I understand that appeal. I do. Now, if it's creating the if like, oh, you're like, oh, well, I want reference images of, people leaking blood out of their eyes. And it's using, those AI image generations to create those images, then I have a problem. Because AI, it's prone to hallucinate. It's got issues. I would not trust something made by an image generator. But I could see it being, a quick way to get a bunch of different images of, blood leaking from people's eyes. If their trailer is anything to go by. That's why I use that as an example. I don't know if that's what they're intending, but in theory, yeah, there are two ways to read this. I think my first reading is a lot more positive. That they're just using this as a quick tool that allows them to make art books and reference sheets easier. I don't mind that as much. I could be in the minority on that. I'm sure some people would be like, oh, well, I'd rather have a human just do that. And I get that. I do. But if that's what it is, again, the water and the power stuff still kills me, and I would never do it, but I get it. So what else did they say? Specifically that they're using AI at the earliest stages during rough outlines and compositions. And that, yes, everything will be replaced by real concept art drawn by real concept artists. So no, they're not having the AI make them like a concept art book. Every piece of concept art will be drawn by a real person. At least that's the hope. They also say that concept artists don't have to follow what a machine suggests, that these are just tools to experiment and make their lives easier. So, like, they could be like, hey, what are, find me images of, blood leaking out of people's eyes. And then the computer sends back a bunch of concept art or, a bunch of, like, images stolen off of Google for that. And then the developers decide, like, actually, I don't like any of these images. They're free to do that. Because there are some businesses that are forcing their employees to use, whatever AI generated slop the computer gives them. There was one TikTok I saw. It might have been a teacher. I think it was a teacher. And she was talking about how her school district was telling her that, hey, before you send out an email to a parent, you have to run it through our AI software. And they'll tighten it up, they'll make it more approachable. But she had the struggle of she would write an email that's like, hey, your kid is failing math. Here's some steps we can take to make sure he's, he will pass the class. And when she ran it through the AI, it took all the agency out of it. It was no longer like, oh, the kid's failing math, he's in danger of failing. It's just like, oh, the AI spat out oh, here's some ideas we might be, because we're concerned about little Jimmy, but don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. It took all the urgency out of her email. And so she had to create this Frankenstein email based on the one the AI spat out and the one she got and the one she originally made. And so that's the thing. If you're not forcing anybody to do it, that's also important. But should you ever give them the option in the first place is another issue. This one might suck. This level. And then finally, Larian, specifically Sven Vinky, said that they will be hosting a Q&A about the development progress because of everything that happens. That, you know, because people are jumping to so many conclusions, understandably so, even though, again, I could use with less death threats, there should be no death threats over this. To be fair, I haven't seen any, but knowing the internet the way I do, there have definitely been some death threats sent. There should be no death threats, but they came out and they were like, yes, we want to be more transparent. So this might have already happened, because this was a story today. But basically, they're going to be doing a Reddit Q&A where fans will be able to ask the developers from many different departments about the development process of the game, to hopefully give them a better understanding of what's going on, to answer their many burning questions. And yeah, this is, again, all this is damage control. So it makes sense that they're doing it. Again, I don't know if this has actually happened or if this is just announced to be coming up. Again, this part of the story broke today. But, yeah, no, they needed this damage control, because starting their original damage control statement with, holy fuck, guys. Like, I know some people find that charming, and to be fair, I like a good sense of transparency. But it reads as a little tone deaf. Maybe it's just because we're in the AI age, we're living in the AI bubble. At any point, this thing is going to blow up, you know... It's not gonna blow up the world, not yet anyways, but like, it's gonna destroy the American economy. It's only a matter of time. So I get the concern. I'm glad they're doing it. We'll see how it all shakes out. This could potentially get worse before it gets better. But that's where we're at. Another thing that did come out, though, is Sandfall Interactive. Sandfall Interactive is the developer of Expedition 33, and they came to Larian's defense. Specifically, they pointed out that they used AI during the development of Expedition 33. And some people pointed out that, I don't know if this is still the case, but at least one point in the game, there was a column in the game with like a bunch of newspapers on it. At least I've seen the picture. It looks like newspapers to me. That may not have been the intention, but that's what it looks like to me. And I guess those were AI generated. That even though they said there was no AI art in the game, some did slip through the cracks. The game that just won 9 awards for Game of the Year, including Game of the Year itself, they used AI. This has put some sour taste in people's mouths, and I get it. It definitely kind of has for me, even though I still do want to play the game, because there's clearly something there. But this just goes to show you how prevalent this is. That even when we don't realize it's there, yes, everybody's using AI. The Pandora's box has been opened. And there's nothing we can do about it. And if I'm going to be honest, that fucking sucks. That really does suck. Oh my gosh. Because yeah, it's only going to get worse. You know, these AIs get better all the time. For the most part, there is definitely this trend that the more AI images that are created and posted, the AI starts basically inbreeding with itself by, you know, scraping other AI generated images. And so we're basically getting AI inbreeding. And so in some ways these things are getting worse, but for the most part they're getting better. And it's only going to keep going from here. It really is. But yeah, I guess this is our last news story of the year, because there's not going to be anything next week. Spoiler alert, we're not doing news next week. And yeah, this is a bummer one to end the year on. but it kind of sums up the year perfectly. If I had to sum up the entire year of 2025 with one story, I think this one's pretty accurately nails it. Because we're living in AI hell. We truly are. I mean, do you see the shit God. I was gonna say, do you see some of the shit the president's saying? Like, there's no way they aren't feeding the president AI. Because we know he hates reading. So, there's no way they aren't doing that. There's no way. And it is a bubble that is bound to burst. We'll see. But no, I would prefer my games AI free. Thank you very much. You know, it's funny, because in next year, I want to start doing more clips of the show. Like, on TikTok, I've uploaded some clips. I want to start doing more clips next year. This is not one of those things that I want to clip. Ugh. I don't know, we'll see. Alright, so, I guess we'll get started on the WIBE stuff. My goal is, we're gonna get this final start. I'm gonna go get a soda. Maybe go pee. And then we'll talk about everything. But we got two food things. One is Taco Bell, because of course it's Taco Bell. And then the other one is Nuka Cola. They released a bunch of Nuka Cola to celebrate the new season of Fallout. And I have them. And so I'm gonna go get a Nuka Cola. To be fair, I don't actually have a camera. Because my camera is not set up at the moment. But I'm going to go get Nuka Cola. And of course, you know, we're going to drink it. We're going to talk about all this stuff. And we will talk about Fallout Season 2. Because Fallout Season 2 premiered. We got Percy Jackson. Season 2, Episode 3. Which I watched like a few minutes ago. And then we got the Avatar movies. I rewatched the first one. And I watched the third one. I couldn't be bothered to rewatch the second one. And we'll have a few other things. Maybe an anime, maybe some video games. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. With that, let me hit this. Alright, I'm gonna go pee, grab a soda, and we will be right back to talk about this and everything else. so I got here with me a a Sunset Sarsaparilla from the folks at Jones Soda Company. So, if you don't know, Jones Soda Company, for over a decade now, I think, has worked with the developers of Fallout, Bethesda, to make sodas that, have the branding of their games. So back in, 2014, 2016, whenever Fallout 4 came out, maybe 2015 even, sometime in that window, they made Nuka Cola Quantum. I actually managed to get a bottle. I still have it to this day. So that was cool. And then, over the years, they did Nuka Cola Victory. I don't think they've ever done just straight up Nuka Cola. They've always done one of the weird flavors. But yeah, for the lead up of Fallout Season 2, they did Sunset Sarsaparilla, Nuka Cola Grape, and they brought back Nuka Cola Quantum. And I was able to get a 3-pack. So I'm going to try the Sunset Sarsaparilla. This is our second WIBE story, but, I wanted to at least take a drink first. Tastes like root beer. It's different than a root beer, but it tastes like root beer. It's good. I do like it. A lot better than the one I made, but we'll talk about it. So our first story is actually Taco Bell, because I want to talk about Taco Bell first. So one of the Taco Bell's, one of the items that people have been wanting them to bring back for a while now is the Quesarito. The Quesarito was a massively popular item. They took it off the menu, I think, during COVID, and then they brought it back as like an app exclusive. And then eventually they took that away. And so it's been like 2 or 3 years. And now finally the Quesarito is back. I went and I got one today. And yeah, it's still pretty good. I haven't had I used to really like the Quesarito. Did the Quesarito kill Taco Bell for me? Not specifically. I've talked about this before. There was a period in Taco Bell where I was kind of over them. Like, I had so much. And they'd kind of lost their creative spark a little bit. Eventually, they did get it back, but it took a while. And yeah, that was kind of my Quesarito. I was eating Quesaritos during that era. The Quesarito was one of my go-to items. And I think we're in a better place now, not had it for a few years. Instead, we have the grilled cheese burrito, which I do love. I feel like, yeah, we're in a better place. I can appreciate the Quesarito, and it's pretty good. It is in no way perfect, mind you. If you had to ask me between a Quesarito and a grilled cheese burrito, I would get a grilled cheese burrito. I just like that one more. But it is good. The Quesarito is good. I do enjoy it. And yeah, I'm glad I got 2. I'm glad I got more than 1. Because this was not the only items they have. An item they did have is they have garlic ranch steak nacho fries. I didn't get that. I like the nacho fries, but I'm not a fan of like the steak nacho fries or like the chicken. Just not me. So I didn't even bother trying those. I did, however, they brought back the dipping tacos. There's a steak dipping taco and a chicken one. I tried the steak one. I also did try the new garlic ranch sauce, which is definitely not what you should probably have the dipping taco with, because it go better with fries. The dipping taco just isn't for me. I keep calling it the dipping taco. The steak dipping burrito is just not for me. It's basically 2 mini grilled cheese burritos, because they do that thing where they put cheese on the top and then they flatten it. And I like that on a grilled cheese burrito, but on the mini ones and the fact that they're steak, it's just not for me. I get why some people will like these, but nah, they were just kind of whatever. I'd much rather just have a grilled cheese burrito. The same thing with the garlic ranch. It probably is fine with the nacho fries, but just having it with like this grilled cheese burrito It was a little weird. It definitely was not the best sauce to go with it, but I had to try it. Now, they did have another thing. They had a cookie crunch slush. I did order one, or it's I have cookie crunch written in my notes. I think it was actually cookie confetti. I ordered it, and they did not have it. They did not get in the stuff to make it. So they were just like, oh, you know, do you want to try one of the other slushes? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so I instead tried an orange and cream slush, which is creamsicle. It's, you know, it's basically creamsicle. I'll be honest, I really liked it. I don't get Sonic slushes, or not Taco Bell slushes. The closest I'll get to it, you know, I don't really do slushes at places. The only place I do is Sonic Burger. I like a good Sonic Burger slush, you know, a good cherry slush. But I'd never had a Taco Bell slush before, at least not in a while. Not bad, Taco Bell. It melts very quickly, but outside of that, no, it was pretty good. It was very sweet. Oh my gosh, was it so sweet. But, you know, it is basically a dessert. And at that point, it was a really good dessert. So yeah, the orange and cream slush, I did enjoy. I would definitely recommend that. Especially because I'm a fan of creamsicles. If you like a good creamsicle, oh yeah, this is perfect. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, that was Taco Bell. You know, Quesarito back is a good thing. Everything else, it was kind of there. But I'd maybe get that orange cream slush again. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but every time I've gone to Taco Bell this year, since what, like August, I will get Baja Midnight. Because, you know, I can get Baja Blast anywheres. I've been getting Baja Midnight, because even though I didn't originally like it, the second or third time I got it, I warmed up to it a little bit. There it is. What is this level called? I keep calling it like Champions Road. There's no way that's what it's actually called. It is called Grand okay. Alright, so we got to beat this level twice. First time normally, and then the second time we got to do it after getting a bunch of star bits. So we'll beat it once, then we'll go get a bunch of star bits, and then we'll beat it again. Hopefully. Hopefully this isn't too hard. Because I've never beaten Champions Road in Super Mario 3D World. That level to this day still eludes me. What was I talking about? Slushes, Taco Bell. I don't know, I was on some sort of rant. Either way, good job for Taco Bell. You guys did a fine job. Yeah. This is also probably the last food thing of the year. You know, most places, outside of Christmas stuff, you know, peppermint. Most places don't do anything in December, and most places do their Christmas stuff in November. Ugh, I had a cough. So yeah, Taco Bell actually doing something in December is a big surprise. And so obviously this is going to be the last thing of the year. And yeah, you know, bringing back a classic, what a way to go end on. I've been seeing people make like TikToks about the Quesarito and be like, oh, the Quesarito's finally back. And I had the idea for one, but is that corporate shilling? I feel like that's corporate shilling, like by definition. So I don't know if I'll actually make that video, but you better believe I had the idea for it. Yeah, you better believe I had an idea for a Quesarito video. That is funny in my head, but I don't think I'll actually, I don't know, I might. I don't think if I spend more than like 30 minutes on it, that'd be a problem, but I could see myself getting it done in like 30 minutes or less. Potentially. Alright, let's talk about Nuka Cola. So, with the lead up to Fallout Season 2, Jonestown Soda has brought back Nuka Cola. Specifically, I found this at Costco. They sell a 3-pack. It's got Sunset Sarsaparilla, Nuka Cola Grape, and Nuka Cola Quantum. Let's start off with Nuka Cola Grape. Mainly because I do not like grape. I'm not, like, I like grapes, the fruit, like an actual grape, but grape flavoring, I have never liked. I don't like grape gum, grape lollipops, grape, what else? Specifically cough medicine. I think the reason why I don't like grape is because it's a very common flavor used in cough medicine. And so as a result, I have like a very negative connotation with grape. Whereas, you know, actual grapes don't taste like grape flavoring. It's kind of, for me, grape flavoring is kind of like banana, where, you know, banana flavoring doesn't taste anything like bananas, the modern day, is it the Cavendish or the Gros Michel? I think it's the modern day Cavendish, because banana flavoring is based on the Gros Michel. I might have that backwards. Grape kind of feels the same way. Like, grape flavoring tastes nothing like grapes. People like grapes. I don't like grape flavoring. Oh god, and have you ever read that story about Ben & Jerry's grape ice cream? Oh my gosh, if you have not, go look that up. Because there's no grape, you cannot buy grape flavored ice cream. And there's a reason for that, because Ben & Jerry's tried to create one. I'm not going to recount that story. It's actually kind of sad, but go look it up. But yeah, so Nuka Cola Grape, I was not looking forward to. I was like, you know, it's a 12 pack. It's got 4 of each. I'll try one, but I've got roommates. The roommates will drink the other 3. And so far they have. I think there's one left. I had one, and each of my roommates had one. So those are almost gone. My actual thoughts on it, of the grape flavor, again, grape flavoring is not something I have. Of the grape flavoring stuff I have, it's the best one. It's the best grape soda I've ever had, which is a very low bar because I don't like grape soda. But hey, I think they did a pretty good job. I should say I like Jonestown soda. It's not something I ever go out of my way to get. Like, I don't really get, you know, actual bottled sodas. But every time I've had one, I've had a good experience with it. So yeah, I guess I am positive on the grape soda, even though I'm not a grape fan. Nuka Cola Quantum, this is a berry lemon soda. This is the one I've had before. Again, I've got a bottle of it from 2015, 2016. I've been keeping that thing around for a while now. It's one of the oldest collectibles I have. That, you know, is actually, like, still in, like, its original packaging and whatnot. And guess what? Still tastes great. I'm pretty sure you can just at any point in the year order Nuka Cola Quantum. Like, the original run was like very limited edition, but at some point, you know, Bethesda and Jonestown just reached an agreement, and they either just make it year round, or they just sell a berry lemonade that you can just buy without the Fallout label. I'm pretty sure I've had it without the Fallout label before. Alright, we're going to switch back to Mario to do this final level. But before we do that, we got to go get star bits. We need about 3,000. So we're going to head back to the Boulder Galaxy. I think it's... I don't remember where it is. We're going to go bowling. It'll take us a little bit. Let me... Where's the bowling galaxy? Okay. Oops. Should be. So yeah, it's Melty Molten? Melty Monster. Oops. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't know. This is giving me a different bowling thing, but I don't know if it's the right thing because it's also giving me that rock galaxy. Give me a sec. I was watching a TikTok about this because, of course, somebody made a TikTok about this. Because in the old games, this used to be a lot easier to do. In the remake, they made this a little harder. This one. All right. Oh yeah, Nuka Cola Quantum. It's a berry lemonade. It's a good berry lemonade. I would recommend it. I would recommend it without the Fallout labeling. I've had it before. It's good. The last one is Sunset Sarsaparilla. So this is, because again, I actually have the bottle of this one. Let me read the back. Howdy, partner. Quench your thirsts with an old-fashioned way with an... Howdy, partner. Quench your thirst the old-fashioned way with an ice-cold bottle of Sunset Sarsaparilla, the legendary Wild West flavor cherished across the Mojave since 1918. And don't forget to keep an eye out for those elusive blue star caps. One day, fortune just might smile your way. So yeah, when you get these Sunset Sarsaparillas, there is a chance you can get a blue star bottle cap. This is the second one I've opened. This one did not have a blue star on it, but the other one did. So I was able to get a blue star cap. I don't know how rare or common they are, but I was able to get one. So that is nice. I do have that. So, actual thought, if you've never had sarsaparilla, sarsaparilla is made, okay, I don't remember the exact details, but like sarsaparilla and root beer are made from like they're made from roots. The roots of the sarsaparilla tree, I think it's a tree, maybe a bush, but they're made from sarsaparilla roots, and I don't think it's agave roots. I don't remember what the other one is, but that's where root beer gets its name from, because, you know, it's roots, and then sarsaparilla is, you know, sarsaparilla root. What is the other... Let me look it up. The root in root beer. I know at one point, root beer was made from sarsaparilla root. Sassafras, there we go. I could not think of the name. Yeah, root beer gets its name from its primary ingredient, sassafras root. Other key roots are often sarsaparilla and licorice. So, you know, they all come from the same place. Here's the thing, though. Root beer, you know, has caught on. Root beer is a big market. You know, the root beer wars are mug versus A&W versus bark. Because every root beer tastes different. You know, there are very different types of root beer. There's creamy root beer. There's, you know, a thicker root beer, thinner root beers. There's a lot of different types of root beer. Sarsaparilla, meanwhile, is not very popular, and it is not made very much. The reason why, and it's been a few... So during COVID, I got big into Fallout. I think I've talked about this before. I got big into Fallout, you know, in between playing Animal Crossing. I was playing a lot of New Vegas. I was watching a lot of videos on New Vegas. And one of the things was I actually tried making sarsaparilla. There's this guy, How to Drink, and he did a video on how to make sarsaparilla, and I followed his recipe and made sarsaparilla. And the problem with that is sarsaparilla root is not illegal in the US, but it's hard to get, and it is partially illegal because it's poisonous. Large quantities of sarsaparilla root can be poisonous. So that's kind of why sarsaparilla fell out of favor. That's kind of why sarsaparilla fell out of favor, is that there is a poisonous element to it. I want to say this, I can't remember if the same is true with sassafras, or I might potentially have it reversed. That sassafras is poison, and sarsaparilla isn't. I know there's something weird in it. Is sarsaparilla illegal? Sarsaparilla isn't totally banned, but its main ingredient, safrole, was banned by the FDA for commercial use in 1960 due to cancer concerns in animal studies, leading to artificial flavors or safrole-free extracts in modern drinks like root beer and sarsaparilla. So that's the thing. I knew there was something there. It causes liver damage. So if I look at the ingredients on this, I probably won't find sarsaparilla root on it. Carbonated water, cane sugar, natural flavors, caramel color, citric acid, potassium sorbate, and sodium benzoate as preservatives. So yeah, there probably isn't actual sarsaparilla root in this, but I did, back during COVID, make some actual sarsaparilla with sarsaparilla root. It was not, at least the one I made was not that good. I definitely fucked up somewheres along in the process. But yeah, it's basically just root beer, but I'm glad this exists. I'm really glad they actually made Sunset Sarsaparilla. Because actually getting some sarsaparilla can be a bitch and a half. Like, you gotta go to, like, specific locations and specific breweries. Because that's why I made my own. It's because I tried to buy some, and you just can't. You just cannot buy sarsaparilla. No. Like, it's not like, you know, root beer, and then there's, like, novelty root beer. No, you cannot get just sarsaparilla. You can't. It's easier to get Iron Brew than it is to get sarsaparilla. Another product that's banned in the US, kind of. It's easier to get Moxie than it is to get sarsaparilla. Trust me, at the same time I was trying to find sarsaparilla, I was able to find Moxie. But yeah, no. I do like this. But I guess it also just depends on what type of root beer guy. Because, like I said, there are 3 types of root beer guys. Personally, I'm a mug root beer guy. I know there are some people who wouldn't touch mug with a 10-foot pole. I'm a mug guy, though. What can I say? I do. Occasionally, I like Barks. I like their red cream soda. If you've ever been to... Down here in Texas, we got a place called Taco Cabana. If you've ever been to a Taco Cabana and gotten one of their red cream sodas... Oh, that thing is so good. And I think that's Barks. That sounds right. Oh my gosh. But no, this is good. I do enjoy this. I think this one you can also just buy. Like, if you go to their website, you can just find these. And I bought these at Costco. They are selling other places. It did also, the package at Costco, it came with a little Voltec bag. So I've got a little Voltec bag. It came with a bottle opener. Not a good bottle opener. Like, it's a bottle opener, but these are twist bottles. So you kind of have to use it as like a twist bottle opener, because using it as a bottle opener will not work. No, it's a twist bottle opener, and it is very novelty. It says Voltec on it, but it's cool to have. And I think it came with some bottle caps as well. So like I have like one each of extra, because I still haven't opened some of these. But yeah, I'm holding my Blue Star right now. So yeah, I got a little bottle cap, little bag. It's just cute. You know, it's just novelty shit. But you know me, I love Fallout. I love a bit of novelty. You know, sure, did I not buy that $2,000 Pip-Boy or... Okay, it was probably like $200-300, but still. I did not buy that, but, you know, I like myself a bit of novelty. What can I say? But yeah, no, I'd recommend these, but I'm biased, obviously. You know, I like a bit of novelty. I've had Jonestown before. Good soda, at least for my taste. So yeah, I think they're just cool to own. So what about Fallout the show? So, Season 2 premiered with our first episode. It premiered a day early, like it was supposed to premiere on like the 17th or 18th, and it ended up premiering on the 16th, and I found out like 2 minutes before it premiered. It premiered at like 8 o'clock, and I found out at like 7:59. But I did watch the first episode. Man, dude, I just enjoy Fallout. That's the thing. I enjoy the world building. I like the vibes. I love the ideas of it. And the show is so good. Because by setting a portion of the show before the bombs drop, it allows us to explore so much more of the Fallout world. Because, spoiler alert for the first season. In the first season, you find out Voltec was the ones who dropped the bombs. Which, I don't know if that was definitely probably a theory. Not what I had heard of, but it makes sense. It makes sense that Voltech is the ones who dropped the bombs. And the show is just really good. Walton Goggins, well, I think it's Walton, as the Ghoul is fantastic. I think it's not Ella McKay. Whoever is Lucy also does a great job. They play the role of like innocent Vault Dweller perfectly. It's Ella Purnell. Okay, I knew it was Ella something. And then Eric Monton as Maximus is good. He's definitely my least favorite of the three, but you know, he's still good. And then Kyle MacLachlan, fucking Kwisatz Haderach, is the father, and he's great. Yeah, I enjoy the cast, I enjoy the show, I love the universe. And yeah, starting off with the season 2 premiere, they immediately hit us with the nostalgia. So we just talked about Five Nights at Freddy's a few weeks ago, and I made the point that good references does not make a good show. Just because Freddy's references the or does not mean it's a good movie. You need actual substance there. Fallout does this perfectly. The beginning of the episode, like this, okay, maybe not the first scene, but like the second or third scene, they're at Novak, Lucy's in the dinosaur with a sniper rifle, they're hanging the Ghoul, she shoots him down after, you know, a very Lucy moment. And then it starts playing Big Iron as the Ghoul just wastes all the great cons in the Novak. And it's great. It's nostalgia, you know, right there, we're back in Fallout New Vegas, kicking it off with a bang, a classic New Vegas song. But it's also good action. The story I'm very interested in. We get another scene in the past where we see Mr. House is working on a mind control chip that when it overloads, it blows up the person's head. Which is going to be the big plot point this season. It's House, it's Voltech, it's the same thing. At least I'm pretty sure that was House. That looked a lot like House. So yeah, the show is good, but the references are also fun. Like, they made a good show first, and then they put in the references. Which is the exact opposite of what Five Nights at Freddy's is doing. Where they put in the references, and then forget to make the thing good, and forget to get get people who can actually fucking act. With, like, 2 exceptions. Yeah, it's so good. So we're building up, you know, he's heading to New Vegas. The dad, Lucy and the Ghoul are chasing him down. They eventually go to a vault, and in the vault they find the mind control chips. And it's clear that the dad is, you know, he eventually goes to the Voltech headquarters, at least a headquarters, and he gets back to work on these mind control chips, as clearly they're going to use them for something. Meanwhile, we keep cutting back to Lucy's brother, who is Moises Arias. I don't remember the character's name. It's like Noah or something. And he's still trapped in Vault 31. But I love the ending of it, where he's just like, okay, well, if you're not going to let me out of here, then instead of dying, I'm just going to wake everyone up from hibernation. Just because, chaos. I love that. Because that's we have the 3 storylines. We got the Ghoul, we got Lucy and Maximus, and those 3 storylines keep intersecting time and time again. But I do like that every once in a while they cut back to Vault 31. There's going to be some sort of civil war this season in the Vault 30, 31, 32, and 33. So that's going to be interesting. I'm very excited to see where it goes. I really am. Everything has been so interesting. I really like Lucy. I like the Ghoul. Maximus, I can give or take him, but, I'm excited to see where they go with him this season. Because the last time we saw the Brotherhood of Steel in New Vegas, they were a shambling corpse. And then they maybe not got blown up in Fallout 4. It's kind of complicated. But either way, you know, the Brotherhood's fucked. Like, there are no happy endings for the Brotherhood. I know part of people's concerns with the show, at least season 2 here, is that they're not going to do an ending for New Vegas. That, you know, New Vegas, you have your choice of 4 different endings. You can go with the NCR, you can go with Mr. House, you can go with Legion, or you can make your own ending with... What the fuck was his name? You can make your own ending. You know, you could stick it out and have your own claim to the Wasteland. And so, of course, the question was, which ending is canon? And so far, the writers have said that they're not going to choose an ending. I kind of hope they're lying. I really do hope they chose an ending and are just keeping it a secret from us, the viewers. Which one would I want to be the ending? Probably House's. Just because I think that's the most interesting story-wise. Yeah, you know, House is getting ready to take off in his rockets. You know, we know the NCR has been crippled. That the dad blew up the NCR's capital. I mean, the NCR was fucked from the beginning. Same thing with the Caesar's Legion. Caesar's Legion is fucked. You know, they lost Hoover Dam 2, Electric Boogaloo, no matter what. So yeah, it doesn't, you know, are we going to see one of the, you know, who's the Legate? Is Legate Lanai still in charge? Because he died, right? He dies in the House ending. It's been 5 years. I don't entirely remember. I've never done a Caesar's Legion run. I've done I don't even think I've done a House run. I've done an NCR run, and I've done a choose your own ending. Or, you know, make your own ending. I don't think I've ever done a House run. I don't know. I could totally be wrong about that. And I've only ever seen on YouTube the Caesar's Legion run, because I just don't do evil runs of Fallout. Like, the most evil run of Fallout I've ever done is siding with Sean in Fallout 4. Which is sadly one of the more sensible choices in that game, because that game's fucking dumb. Love it to death. Love Fallout 4 to death. Is it coming to Switch? Because now I really want to play Fallout again. I really do. And I think Fallout 4 is coming to Switch. I might play it again. But God, the story is so fucking dumb in that game. Love it to death, though. But yeah, I'm very excited to have Fallout back. It's a great show. And we have more. We've got more. I think we've probably got another 8 episodes taking us into the new year. And then Todd Howard came out and gave an interview this week where he talked about how everything that happens in the show is going to be canon in the games. Because the game, you know, they've nebulously stuck to the canon of the games in the show. It looks like... I think it makes logical sense, because, you know, Fallout loves to keep jumping more forwards in time. Even if we don't see it, everything that happens in the show happening in the games makes sense. You know, Fallout 5, wherever it takes place, will still be canon. You know, all this stuff will be canon, which makes sense. I don't know, that's years away, potentially. Because the other option, if I don't play Fallout 4, I could always boot up 76 again. I think they added Ohio to the game, so now we can get all of our skibbity Ohio brain rots. Fucking shoot me. So yeah, I'm excited for more Fallout. Again, you know, well, I like weekly shows. Living in them, oh god, it kind of sucks. Having to wait another week for another episode, it kind of sucks. But I'd rather have weekly shows over the Netflix model. Or whatever the fuck they're doing with Stranger Things Season 5. Like, my glob. Speaking of another show, Percy Jackson. We got episode 3 this week. This is, they board a cruise ship. I board the Princess Andromeda. Don't remember the actual episode name. It's something like that. It's got to do with the cruise ship. And yeah, they make some change. So, as someone, who's read the books, one of the interesting changes they've made is we have a new character, Allison. Allison is daughter of Apollo, ? When we first see her in this episode, I thought, oh, is she one of Artemis's hunters? Because she's reading like a bow and arrow magazine. And I could realistically see this show introducing the hunters of Artemis this season. I think that is totally within the realm of possibility. And, that sets up the next one. But no, I think she's a child of Apollo. And yeah, technically she was in the first episode. I just kind of forgot. She's the one who attacks Grover. But I like that they're focusing more on Luke. That, we're learning more about his perspective. We're seeing that, yes, other demigods have joined his side. I do wonder what they're going to do with Chris Rodriguez. Because I had mentioned last week that I was like, oh, it's interesting to see that Chris is going along with Clarice. I wonder how that's going to change the story. Because he's not mentioned until, like, book 4. At least I don't think he is. And instead I wondered if they were going to introduce Selena here. Because Selena and Clarice are friends, but that kind of happens in between books 4 and 5. So the idea of them introducing it now here in season 2 of the show, I think would make a lot of sense. But no, in this episode, after Clarice gets her prophecy, she ends up deciding to just go on her own. That Chris and, her potential third would just slow her down. I do like that we're spending more time with Clarice. I really do think that is important, both for how the season will end, but also, we want to like her more. Because, well, yes, Clarice is, to use a My Little Pony term, the biggest meanie. She has to be at least a little likable with stuff they have to do later on. They should make her a little sympathetic. And so them, us seeing her on the ship, originally the crew doesn't listen to her, but eventually she's like, oh, this is your chance to get into Elysium, to prove that you're not just a bunch of losers. Now, in the book, I want to say all these dead soldiers are specifically mentioned to be Confederate soldiers, whereas in the show, they're a bunch of different groups and different races, presumably to get away from that, which I do think is good. I think making it a diverse group with presumably no Confederate soldiers is better, is a better way to do things. The one I do find really funny, though, is that one of the guys is from Blockbuster. Because, it's people who fell in battle during war. The streaming wars are technically a war. It'd be like having someone who fought in the Emu Wars. Like, I could see them doing something like that. But I think that's a good joke. The idea of someone being, a soldier who fell during the streaming wars from Blockbuster is something inherently very funny that definitely feels like something the book would have done. Like, I could totally see the book making a joke about, oh yeah, I fell during the streaming wars. That totally seems like a joke the book would make. And because it's Blockbuster, I don't think it'll be like a dated joke. Because, Blockbuster's already, we're already nostalgic for Blockbuster. So I think I think the joke will age fine. But yeah, I like seeing more of Clarice. I like we get some more of Luke's perspective. Again, it's been years since I've read these books. But one of the things I remember is that the whole Great Prophecy, they don't even say the Great Prophecy until, like, book 5. I don't think they even mention it existing until, like, book 4. Like, I know Luke is trying to bring back Kronos, but I don't think he ever even mentions the Great Prophecy. So for them introducing it in season 2 of the show, Luke knows what it is, Annabeth doesn't know the wording, but she's got a gist. I think that's a better way to handle it, because the Great Prophecy is very important, and the fact that they hold it until the final book. Whereas, the sequel series gives you the Great Prophecy immediately, the Seven Heroes Prophecy. And then we have the entire 5 books to think about it. And this one, you know, us knowing that, hey, guess what? Annabeth tells Percy that he will have to make a singular choice that will either end the Age of the Gods or keep Zeus in power. And I like that he doesn't want to know. Percy's like, oh, well, you know, if there's a prophecy, maybe I don't want to know it. Maybe that's in my best interest. I like that. And then, of course, they are like, oh, let's have a code word in case I do something you don't think I should do. And so they get a code word, and it's just boom. And then Annabeth immediately uses it. And Percy's like, how do I know you're not just saying it to win this argument? Which, I mean, the system was flawed to begin with, but still. Yes, we just did that, Lubba. Alright, so this is it. This is the final star. I've never done this before. Literally, today is the first time I've ever done this, whatever. God, I've already forgot the name. Grandmaster Galaxy. And I think this is the ultimate run or the final run. I've never done this before. I do not know how long this will take me. I'll give it like... It's the perfect run. Okay, I was close. I'll give it like maybe an hour. Yeah, we'll go for like another hour. If I can't do it, I can't do it. But I don't... This doesn't... Doing it the first time wasn't that hard. Doing it without getting hit... I mean, that final section's gonna suck. But I think we'll be able to do this. It's just gonna take a while. But no, I'm enjoying the show so far. I am, you know, I think I feel like they're making less changes this season. I feel like the first season of the show made a lot of changes from the book, and they've kind of listened, and so they're doing less changes. They're still making changes, but I feel like the changes make sense. Like us learning more about Luke, more about Clarice, about the demigods who betrayed camp. That's important. And, you know, they've got not as much time as a book, but they've got time to work with. They can work with other perspectives. Because the first 5 books are first person. They only have what Percy sees and what he dreams about. So yeah, take advantage of what you got. I like Luke calling out Annabeth and being like, you knew Thalia for 2 months. I knew her for 2 years. If she was alive, she would agree with what I'm doing. I think that is a very interesting perspective. I wonder what they're gonna do with that. Because that's something I have thought about in the books. Of like, I get where Luke's coming from. I really do. Luke is a very sympathetic character. And part of his problem is that, you know, we just talked about Fallout. Fallout New Vegas points out that the biggest problem is that once the world is destroyed, instead of trying to build a new world, we just keep trying to recreate the old one. That's why the NCR and Caesar's Legions are doomed, is they're just recreating the old world. And that's kind of Luke's ultimate folly as well, is that, you know, instead of trying to, you know, make himself a god, he's instead trying to bring back Kronos, bring back the old ways. And that's the problem. Of course, there's a little bit more nuance, but you get my point, hopefully. I don't know, I'm still enjoying the show. What can I say? Alright, so next up, let's talk about Avatar. Not the good TV show, but the James Cameron 2009 movie. I should say, when I do not remember seeing this in theaters. I might have, but my first memory with Avatar is watching it on, it was either a brand new TV or I had gotten a brand new, like maybe I'd gotten my first ever like Blu-ray player, or maybe I'd gotten a DVD player or something. I had gotten something new. It might have been a new TV. And I watched Avatar on it, but the it must have been before Blu-ray. The RGB cables were not hooked up properly, so there was no red in the movie. Everything red was gray. So there were like yellows and blues, but there was no red. And I didn't realize for like most of the movie. And so that's always my first memory of Avatar, is just watching the movie without the color red. But I enjoy Avatar. It's not something I think about. Avatar is, famous for, oh, well, you can't name a single character from Avatar. Avatar has no real pop culture impact. And I agree with both those statements, but I in no way think it's a bad movie. I enjoy it while I'm watching it, but it goes in one ear and out the other. I enjoy it. It's got some good special effects. Yes, the 2009 movie is very dated. Seeing the 2009 in the new one back to back, yeah, no, the CGI has gotten so much better. But for 2009, it's actually pretty impressive, for the most part. But no, I enjoyed watching the original Avatar again. I know, oh, well, it's a whole, white savior, it's Dances with Wolves, it's Ferngully, save the rainforest. I get it. Those are definitely issues. But taking the movie for what it is, yeah, it's fine. Jake Sully is not really a likable character. I feel if Jake Sully was a woman, he'd get a lot more shit for some of the shit he does. Especially in that first movie. I forgot, Letty. Fuck, what's the actress's name? Is in it. Letty is in it. Fuck. Michelle Rodriguez. Okay, I was close. I forgot Michelle Rodriguez was in that movie, but I was excited to see her again. I forgot there was a second Avatar guy, because, again, I don't remember any of this movie. I've seen it. I could not tell you a single thing about it. I only know the names of the characters because of the memes. But yeah, I forgot there was a second Avatar guy who originally is like jealous because Jake Sully only becomes the Avatar guy because his brother was it, and then his brother died. I forgot all of that. I remember, Sigourney Weaver, who's been in now, every major sci-fi property. She's in this, she's in Star Wars, I'm pretty sure she's been in Star Trek, of course Terminator. She's been in everything at this point. But she's good in the first movie. She's good in the new one, all the new ones as well. The General is fine. I find it interesting that Jake is originally working for him. That, he's actually snitching on the science nerds to report back to the General. And then as the movie goes on, he regrets that. I kind of forgot all of that. But, it makes him a less likable character. I do think it makes things more interesting, because I totally get how he fell into that situation. And that, yeah, basically the General offers to get him new legs. And at one point straight up promises, like, hey, you've done a good job. If you just keep working with us, yeah, I've already got your legs guaranteed. Because that's what he originally wants going into this. I think the whole reason he gets accepted by the Na'vi is kind of stupid. Like, Neytiri saves him. And then afterwards, as they're walking back, these like little glowy bugs come up and like surround him, and that means he was chosen by Awa. And so now, because of that, he gets to learn their traditions and becomes one of their warriors. And that the people only like him at first because he's not a scientist, because he's a warrior. Nice. But yeah, again, it's Dances with Wolves. It's a little contrived. The one thing I will say about that is because at the end of the movie, Jake gives up his human body to become fully Na'vi. And that's the one thing is, like, with something like Dances with Wolves, there's always that inherent idea that at the end of the day, if they wanted to, they could go back to white civilization and still be accepted because they are white. Whereas Jake cannot do that. He gives up his human form. He can't just go back to his white human body. He's Na'vi forever. And while that might seem like a minor difference, I do think that makes a big deal. The fact that, you know, he could never be truly accepted by his people, which, I mean, in the new movie... Ugh. But I get that. I do think that that does make a difference. How major of one? I don't think it's that major. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. This still is definitely a white savior movie. But I at least wanted to point it out. For some reason, I thought... So I know Sigourney Weaver got, like, shot. Because I remember in the second movie, she's, like, in a pod. I thought she was, like, in a coma. No, she's dead. She gets shot and dies in this movie. But for some reason, they keep her avatar body around for the second one for her to give birth, which we'll talk about that when we get to the third one. I'll be honest, I remember the second one a lot more. Well, okay, mostly. There was one big thing in the second one I forgot. But I definitely, if you had me rank all three of these, I'd probably put the second one as the best one. We'll talk about it more at the end. But I think I enjoyed the second one the most. But I'm glad I rewatched the first one. I think it was only like 2.5 hours long, which compared to all the sequels that are like 3 hours and 15 minutes, it was shorter, at least had that. Again, the CGI is interesting. The whole scene with the tree burning down is good and interesting. The fight scene with him on the giant bird, who again is red, but I didn't know because when I saw the movie, I didn't have the color red. Because that was how I noticed. Was I saw that weird bird thing and I was like, wow, this thing is very... Or it might have been the fire scene right before it, or... I don't know. Somehow I know that bird because it was just yellow. And I was like, okay, this thing looks wrong. And then maybe there was like the fire scene right afterwards and there was no red in that. And I was like, what the? Yeah, this is broken. But it took me a good ways into the movie to figure that out. Because they're blue. And, you know, they're not having any red. I could see as like a stylistic choice. That's just a thing I could see happening. Anything else from the first movie? It's definitely got some slow parts. It definitely slows down a little bit. I like that the one warrior guy didn't try to... Like, he tries to kill Jake at one point, but afterwards Jake goes to him and is like, oh, you know, you're the strongest warrior here. We need your help. And instead of, like, refusing or, you know, them having to, like, you know, he doesn't have to pull a Jameis. No, the guy actually agrees to go with him, which that was nice. You know, subversion of a trope right there. There's a few other moments like that where they're clearly setting up for something and then they either subvert it or sometimes they play into it, which... But no, it is a fine movie. If I had to give it a ranking, I'd probably give it like an 8. Like, it is a perfectly fine movie. I don't get how it made $2 billion for a movie of its quality. No. Specifically, everyone always brings up its cultural impact. I saw someone make the argument that, well, Avatar does have cultural impact because of the technology advancements. That if it wasn't for Avatar, you know, we wouldn't, you know, the MCU wouldn't have the technology it has today. The Star Wars movies wouldn't have the technology they use today. Like, we owe Avatar a lot for its technology. And it's like, yes, because of James Cameron's, you know, desire, we do have a lot of good technology, you know, CGI and whatnot. But that's not culture. The CGI being decent in these movies and then making a lot of technical advancements to make that possible does not equate to culture. I once saw someone, I think it was Todd Nathanielson, you know, Todd in the Shadows, posit that you can judge Avatar's cultural impact based on how many fan fictions are written about it. That if you were to go on AO3 right now, there would only be like a few thousand fan fictions, which looking up, you know, anything else and its popularity, that like, you know, like if you look up the Avengers, Avatar has, you know, a few thousand fan fictions, and I would bet the Avengers has like 100,000. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just look it up. Of AO3. Okay, when browse. No, wait. Yes, whatever. Search works. Fandoms. Avatar. Avatar, the Cameron movies. It has 6,173 results. Now, if we look at one of its, you know, another movie that's made $2 billion, the Avengers, Marvel movies. It has 212,034 fan fictions. Holy shit. What about something contemporary? What about, okay, 2009 movies. What's another movie that came out in 2009? Okay, Harry Potter feels like cheating. Transformers feels like cheating. Let's try Up. Let's try Up. The 2009 movie Up by Disney. It has... Oh, only 98. Okay, that's maybe a bad example. I don't want to look up Harry Potter because that's cheating. Let's try Inception. Okay, Inception, the Christopher Nolan movie. It has 9,000 fan fictions. Holy shit. Okay, so my first example wasn't good, but my second one is. There are more people who are writing fan fiction about Inception than there are about Avatar. And Avatar's now at 3 movies. Holy crap. Yeah, like, yes, fan fiction isn't the end-all be-all. But the fact that niche weirdos can't even be bothered to write fan fiction about your story, if they can't be bothered, then why would the general audience be bothered to care? Like, Harry Potter has a lot of fan fiction. The most famous fan fiction of all time. Because of how shitty its world building is. Like, infamously, Harry Potter has bad, you know, just British world building. But people like that because that gives them a lot of room to experiment. Meanwhile, Avatar, which has much better world building, people just don't find as interesting. There's less of a desire to play around in the Avatar world, use its space, and do interesting things. Maybe that's why Harry Potter has popular fanfiction, because it's easy, because it's so shit. Whereas, you know, making an Avatar fanfiction would take a lot more work, and that's why people don't want to do it. That's totally possible. But I just find it very interesting. Alright, so that brings us to our new Avatar, Fire and Ash. So, the first one, I rewatched it, I enjoyed it. I did not rewatch the second one, but I feel like by the time the second one came out, there had been enough memes about the first one, that I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna make an active effort to try to remember more of this movie. For the most part, I feel like I did. I admittedly forgot one very big detail. So, spoiler alert for Avatar, Fire and Ash, but also The Way of Water. The movie Avatar, Fire and Ash opens up with Jake Sully's kids. And they're flying around on their bird thingies. And then it's revealed that, hey, guess what? One of these kids is dead. And I guess that was something that happened in the second movie that I completely forgot about. I completely forgot that one of Jake Sully's kids died in the second movie. I had no recollection of that one whatsoever. I remember the daughter had seizures. I remember that bit. I remember the whole hunting the whales thing. I like the set piece at the end of the second Avatar with the whole boat and it flips over and everything. I remember that being a really good set piece, but I did not remember the son dying. So for a second I was like, wait, what? That totally caught me off guard. So I will say, compared from the first movie to the second movie, there's, I think, a 13-year time skip. You know, kind of like real life. There were about 13 years between the first and second ones. And so that reflects in the movies. These movies, I think there's at most like a year time skip. There's no way it's more than a year. At most, it's maybe a month. Because the woman who was pregnant in the second movie, who I swear to God, I remember her giving birth in the second movie. I swear she gave birth in the second movie. No, she gives birth in this one. So, yeah, no, not much time has passed at all. You know, the mom's still in mourning. The son, you know, he's trying not to blame himself for his brother's death. And Jake is just constantly, like, on the verge of blaming him for his son's death. The mom still hates Spider, the one kid whose name I actually remember. Because, you know, he's human. Now, from the marketing, I thought the first Avatar was them trying to get unobtainium. The stupidest named element in movies in a while. Not the worst. I think there are definitely some that are worse. Transformium. But unobtainium was dumb. And then the second movie, which was a Save the Whales movie, was all about ambergris. So I figured, like, oh, the third movie would be all about this stuff that allows humans to breathe on Pandora. Because that's what happens to the Spider Kid, is that he's able to breathe on Pandora. So I figured, like, that was going to be the plot. No, the ambergris is still a thing. We see a scene, not as detailed as the second movie, but we see a scene of the hunters hunting down one of the whale things to get its ambergris. The big final confrontation in this movie is all the whale things are gathering for their, like, eclipse celebration. And the hunters are all gonna round them up and steal all their ambergris. So yeah, in a way, they are continuing from where the second movie left off. It's only a month later. But that's also to the detriment of the movie, because I think this is the weakest one. I do think this is the weakest Avatar film. And part of its problem is that it just feels like Way of Water 2. That in the Way of Water from the original felt like two different movies. It really did feel like that 13-year time gap did matter. The characters have grown, they have changed. The vibe from the first one to the second one is completely different. It feels like a proper sequel. I will give it all the credit for that. I think Avatar 2 is a very proper sequel that follows good sequel etiquette. Avatar 3 is not that. Avatar 3 just feels like, okay, well, we took Avatar 2, and now we're just going to do it more. Is that because, you know, there was only 3 years between this one and the last one? That probably, you know, added on to that fact. But I doubt it's the only fact, you know? But yeah, in some ways, I'm kind of disappointed that it's just, you know, Way of Water Part 2. Because I saw Way of Water. And they do continue, you know, some of the plot lines. Like, there was this whole plot line in the Way of Water that was like this one whale had been ejected from the group because he killed somebody. And that whale's back in this one, but this time, you know, he gets banished from the clan. And now he tries to get back in, because this time the whales are going to fight back. Eventually. Again, full spoilers. So part of the trailer was that they're introducing the Fire Nation. Because they introduced both the Fire Nation and the Air Nomads in this movie. Because, yeah, the comparisons to, Avatar The Last Airbender do not go unnoticed. The fact that there is both a Fire Nation and an Air Nomad does not help with any of that. The Air Nomads are in the movie for like 30 minutes. They show up early on, they agree to take the characters back to like the tree people, and then along the way their ship gets attacked and they disappear from the movie after that. To be fair, I think the movie started pretty strong. The opening sequence, them meeting the Sky People, our introduction to the Ashen, which are, the evil fire avatars. I actually really liked, like, that whole fight sequence where, there's a suicide bomber, and they're lighting the blimps on fire, and all the family gets, like, separated. I think the first, 30, 40 minutes of the movie starts off very strong. But after that, it just kind of slows down and just becomes Avatar 2 again. But I do like the Fire Woman, because she's the head of the Ashen Clan, and her whole thing is in her time of need, when the volcano erupted and her village was burning down, she asked the goddess for help, and the goddess did nothing. So now she's gonna kill everyone who believes in the goddess. She's gonna make herself a goddess. And I like the motivation. I like the character. I feel like she's an interesting expansion of the world. Like, the idea that, no, not all the Na'vi people are, friendly and helpful, but some of them can be evil, and not just, the villains from the first movie again. The idea that there is an Avatar villain from the Avatar world is a good one. I like her obsession with fire. She has a whole thing about, mind controlling people. She gives them drugs. She, hooks into their weird, ponytail things and, forces them to submit. I really do like this character. I feel like she's an interesting progression of the world building. The problem is, she's barely fucking in this movie. She's in the first 30, 40 minutes where they attack the air people. She disappears for a while. Then the military guy goes to get her back. They sleep together. She's got she shows up briefly in the finale, and that's about it. She should have been the main antagonist. I honestly, if they had cut back on the humans with this one, and instead focused on her being the main villain, and she was trying to burn the world down, I would have been much more interested. I feel like she is an interesting character. They do not kill her off in this movie. So, if James Cameron decides to do I think he said he wants to do 10 of these. If he does a fourth one, bring her back, make her the main antagonist. Because, well, yes, there's still plenty of stuff you can do with the humans. That's still not done yet. No, almost nobody died. Okay, a bunch of people die, but, anybody who could be an antagonist doesn't. But if they just want to make her the main villain, do that. Because I don't need another Captain Phasma. Give me, an actual, she's interesting enough. I feel like she's got potential. She should have been the main villain. But instead, it's that military guy, not Quasar, Quartz, who, died in the first movie, then was turned into an Avatar clone memory guy in the second one. And this movie's all about him and his son. I actually do like the moments where he teams up with Jake to save the children. Because he does, in his own weird way, care about his son. And he wants the best for him. And yeah, sometimes, in order to save his son, they have to also save all of Jake's kids as well. I do like that. And there's some heart-to-hearts. Oh, I loved the moment. They have a heart-to-heart together. And then afterwards, he brings out his dog tags, and Spider's can I keep them? And then the next scene, he's using them as a screwdriver. I thought that was so clever. I liked that. The whole escape sequence, because Jake, at one point, again, full spoilers, Jake gets captured. He turns himself in so that way his family can escape, and only him and Spider are the ones who get captured. Because, they want to study him because the villain, the weird racist swarmy guy from the first movie is like, well, we plan on colonizing this planet one day. And if we can't breathe the air, we're going to have trouble with that. So we got to figure out how to study this kid. His motivation makes sense. He's just such a one-note villain. And he doesn't do anything. Like, he's all talk and no bite, if that makes sense. But yeah, so Spider, they are both captured. Natia comes in and pretends to be one of the fire people, helps them escape. And then after, because earlier on in the movie, Natia talks about how much she hates Spider because he's human. She doesn't trust the human. She even kind of hates her own kids because they're half human. Like, it's definitely complicated, and he definitely talks her into a corner. But, yeah, I get it. So earlier on, once he, Spider gets the ability to breathe the air, Natia's like, oh, we should kill him, because, the others are just going to come for him, and, if they figure out, they're going to completely destroy the world. I get it. I get where she's coming from. So afterwards, after they're rescued, Jake goes up to her and is like, you were right. We should have killed Spider. I'm gonna go do it now. So he takes him out into the forest and is like gonna kill him. Spider realizes something weird's happening. He pulls the knife and Spider was just like, do you love me? And he's like, of course I love you, but we just don't have any other choice. And then he can't do it. He can't bring himself to do it. And then Natia comes running back in and is like, oh, I'm so glad you didn't do it. For as much shit as I talked about you for the past 2 movies, I do actually really care about you. I don't want to lose another son. I keep saying her name's Natia. I hope that's right. I hope I'm not misremembering things. I just watched 2 of these movies, for fuck's sake. Neytiri. Okay, I was close. Neytiri. There's a point where the son tries to kill himself. Because, at one point, he gets in trouble with the dad. Because, he tries to speak during, council. And his dad pulls him away. And then the dad gets mad at him. And for a moment, one of the things I was worried about was, if you've watched The Boys, I thought we were going to get, a Billy Butcher moment. Where, he was going to blame either Spider or his son for killing the brother, and then they were gonna betray him. Again, if you've seen The Boys and the Homelander and Homelander's kid, I was expecting something like that. That never happens. But yeah, after they try to kill Spider, I was like, oh shit, he could totally betray them if he wants to. I think the only reason he really doesn't is because he loves the daughter. But yeah, at one point after the son gets yelled at and the dad basically blames him for his brother's death, he steals a gun and tries to and he almost kills himself. And then yeah, he just disappears for the eldest son. He goes to chase down the whale he bonded with, and he disappears for 40 minutes of the movie. The entire time Jake is captured, he has no fucking idea. Because he's off trying to, find his whale friends. And his girlfriend is there with his not girlfriend is there with him. I don't know. I remember them being cute in the second one. We don't get much time with them in this one. I like that the Quart what the fuck was his name? Quaritch. Miles Quaritch. I like that once he starts, he meets the fire lady and he starts sleeping with her, he slowly becomes more native. He starts dressing like the Ashen people. I liked that. Because that's another thing they can do. Now that he slept with her, they could have a kid together. That's totally something I could see James Cameron doing in the next one. Or, one of the future ones. But no, I think this is the weakest one. Just the fact that it's Avatar 2 again. The visuals are still fantastic. I admittedly did not see this one in IMAX. I know I made a big deal with the second one where I was like, yeah, you know, you got to see this in IMAX. The visual spectacle's amazing. I just felt like this one didn't, besides for like the opening, there's a scene early on, you know, the first 30-40 minutes, that first big action set piece. I just didn't feel that this one had as many like good moments where I'd be like, yeah, you definitely have to see this one in IMAX. I mean, they're still probably very good. I think the CGI is seeing the first and third one back to back, you can see how much the technology has truly improved. It looks really good. I think, you know, for having mostly CGI characters, they look really well done. I don't have many issues with like the facial stuff. Oh god, something I just Sigourney Weaver's character, the daughter. You find out in this one she's an asexual birth. An immaculate birth? Is that the word I'm looking for? She's Jesus. Because I remembered her having seizures in the second one. And they might ask who her father is and she doesn't know. They find out that she was conceived when Sigourney Weaver died. And Awa put her inside of the Avatar body. Which does beg the... If you've ever seen the show Data Live, I think it's something like that, where potentially she became her own child, but also in the ending scene, you do see Sigourney Weaver in the spirit realm, so maybe not, but it's not like that. I do like the daughter's whole subplot in this, because in the second one, she was like spiritual. And so this one, we see her have like a sort of crisis of faith because she's trying to connect with Awa, their, you know, goddess. And Awa keeps like pushing her out. Like one of the nerds compares it to like a firewall. And I think that's a good way of putting it. I do like her subplot. I think her romance with Spider, it's cute enough. You know, for a giant blue cat lady and a human. Yeah, it's cute enough. Other thing, but yeah, visually there are some good moments. You know, it still looks good. I wish there was a big set piece in this one. Like the first movie has, you know, all the planes and the birds, and then it eventually, you know, narrows down to just Jake and the general or the colonel. And then the second one has the boat set piece, which is, you know, the whaling boat that they eventually like flip over. I remember really liking the whaling boat set piece. This one doesn't really have anything like that. Like, yes, there is a big ending battle that has its moments, but it's just not anything like super special. There's this whole like gravity pillar where it's like magnetism. There's like this giant pillar of lights, and like anything that gets sucked into it like attracts metal stuff. I would have loved if they had used that as a set piece, but they really don't. Like, it blows up a few ships, and then in the final battle, which is like hand-to-hand combat between Jake and Quaritch, the magnetic field takes their guns and their knives, so they have to fight fist to fist. But outside of that, it just doesn't really do much. So yeah, I do feel like they were missing like a big set piece to just make things more special. Again, I think the movie starts with a good set piece, the airships, but it doesn't have a good ending one. But yeah, I would say this is the weakest one. It definitely has some slower moments, but I think they all kind of do. If I gave the first one an 8, this is probably close. It might be a 7, but I kind of want to say 6. I don't hate this movie. I don't hate this movie by any means. 6 is not a bad score, despite what some people on the internet will tell you. I just think this is the weakest one. Like, I would not recommend this to anybody. Not everybody's going to go see it anyways, because it's going to make another $2 billion probably. But yeah, I wouldn't really... this is not something you have to rush out and go see. To be fair, I don't think the first two are really anything you gotta rush out and go see either. But at least I liked the spectacle in 2. Whereas I feel like this, maybe, it might be like an absence makes the heart grow fonder thing. The fact that there were 13 years between 1 and 2, that made me appreciate 2 more. But it's only been like 3 years since 2, and it's a very similar movie in a lot of ways. But no, I've definitely seen worse this year, but I've also definitely seen better. It's also 3.5 hours. It's like 3 hours and 15 minutes. That's pretty long. I'm gonna give it a 6. It's a high 6, but I'm gonna give it a 6. There are probably better movies. I would say there are better movies you can go see this holiday season. But what's your other choice? That fucking SpongeBob movie? No, thank you. Even though I might end up seeing that anyways. I got a lot of time to kill that I should probably be using to play Expedition 33, but I'll probably go see a movie or something. I don't know, I was thinking about going to see that Marty Supreme, but I've heard kind of like, you know, the Safdie Brothers' other movie, Uncut Gems. Marty Supreme is just an exercise in misery. You know, it's just it's just hard to watch. And I mean, I liked Uncut Gems, but I would never watch it again. And if this is just Uncut Gems again, you know, different font, obviously. Do I really want to do that? But then again, what else am I gonna watch? Go watch Knives Out 3 again. Now it's on Netflix. Alright, let's talk about anime. I don't watch much anime nowadays. I squeeze in one where I can. And this week, for some random reason, I squeezed in Dealing with the Mikadono Sisters is a Breeze. If you've never heard of this, this is an anime about a guy who, his mother was like a child prodigy. His mother was an actress, a child prodigy who, you know, was super popular, had all these major roles, did her own stunts, everybody loved her. And she had a child. But she ended up, you know, because she was so focused on her own work, she ended up neglecting her child. And over time, her child, like all of the skills she had, her child didn't inherit. So they ended up growing apart until she eventually got sick. And then on her deathbed, she like confesses to her son that like she regrets that they weren't a proper family. And asks him, like, hey, as my final request, go make yourself a proper family. So afterwards, he gets taken in by a man, Mr. Mikadono, who has 3 daughters, and he enrolls at their school, and all 3 of his daughters are prodigies as well. One is a talented actress, one does karate, and the other one is, well, she's like a genius, but specifically she plays shogi. And so he ends up having to like take care of these 3 sisters. And basically she's trying to make a family out of these 3 sisters. He's trying to make them into his new family. Now, I don't know if this is a show people have problems with or not. I know because this is a romance harem anime. And I know there are some of these romance harem animes that people really don't like. Specifically for like incest reasons. But I want to say the one I'm thinking of is the Shinjuku Children, which is a different one with a similar-ish setup. But this one, I could see people being like, you know, incest. Because, you know, family, you know, sisters. That's not the vibe the show gives. If I had to compare this show to anything, I'd compare it to Quintessential Quintuplets, where it's a guy who meets a group of sisters and then has to choose which one he's gonna marry. Because when Mr. Mikadono, the dad, takes in the kid, the son, he does not adopt him. He's just letting him live at his place. He's not adopting the kid. There's no adoption papers. They do not have a brother and sister relationship, him and the sisters. In fact, the first time the boy, whose name I don't remember, mentions that he wants to start a family with the sisters, they do not take it as a brother and sister thing, but instead as a marriage thing. That he has to marry one of them in order to start that family. So because of that, I don't get the incest vibes from this. Like, again, that Shinjuku Family Children one seems a lot more nefarious, which, I mean, it's the guy who did Rent-a-Child. I mean, knowing him, Rent-a-Child makes sense. You know, I could see that guy on the list. No, it's the guy who did Rent-a-Girlfriend is the other show I'm thinking of. And that show, that anime is fucking awful. I've never read the book, but I saw the first season of that anime. Oh my god, that show sucks. But no, this one I think is a little bit more wholehearted. It reminds me of quintessential quintuplets. That's what I would compare it to. You spend episodes with each of the sisters. Basically, the show's divided up into like 3 arcs, 3 kind of 4-ish, and each arc revolves around one of the sisters. So the first arc is all about him meeting the eldest sister, the actress, and helping her prepare for a role. Because she's a prince character. You know, she's female, but when it comes to her plays, she only plays male characters. Is that a big thing in Japan? Like, this, I can only think of like 1 or 2 other animes that do this, and one of them is Ouran High School Host Club, which is like the least progressive anime ever. So is the princely character like an actual thing? You know, a woman pretending to be a prince? Or is that just an anime thing? Because I feel like that's just an anime thing. But yeah, the eldest daughter's whole shtick is that she primarily plays male characters. So now she's been given the audition to play a female character, so she has to go on a date with the male main character to learn how to act more feminine. I think it's fun. I think it's cute. Their date's a lot of fun. Because they go to like the amusement park. At least they get on a Ferris wheel at one point. Part of what makes the show work is the sincerity. Like when the main character promised his mother he'd have a family, he's going to live and die by that promise. He really cares about the sisters. He wants the best for them. I guess, could I compare it to 100 Girlfriends That Really, 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 Really Love You? Probably not, but there's not dissimilar vibes. Like, the guy truly does care. He can be wholesome and cute. Sometimes he can be a little mischievous. Like, one of the things that happens early on is that, you know, one sister is doing a performance in another city, one sister's at a karate tournament at another city, and then the other sister's at a shogi tournament in another city. They're all in the same city and they didn't know. So he ends up taking them to, like, a festival to wish them good luck and whatnot. Oh my god. Speaking of which, so after they do the festival, he meets the dad, because he'd never actually met the dad in person. The dad was just friends with the mom. And, you know, after the mom died, he agrees to take in the kid. The dad is such an asshole. I'd compare, you know, the dad from Quintessential Quintuplets sucks, because, you know, he neglects his daughters. And then there's a really good scene in Quintessential Quintuplets where the main character calls out the dad because, like, his daughters were fighting and he didn't even know and doesn't care. And I fully stand with the main character. Like, fuck that dad. Same thing here. Like, the main character in this show tells the dad, like, oh yeah, before their competition, we went out to the festival to, you know, have some relaxing time before things got serious. And the dad, right when he finds out, is ready to throw him out. All the daughters are very clearly scared of their dad because he expects perfection. He's burning them out. Like, he's going to kill them because he expects perfection from them. He's a fucking asshole. He only shows up for a single episode, and I fucking hate the guy. And I hope they pull a Quintessential Quintuplets and I'll move away from him, because fuck him. But yeah, so that's the first arc is with the eldest sister. Then the next arc, technically these are the second and third arcs, but you get my point. Is with the middle child. She's one of her old karate friends wants to recruit her at his school, and so, you know, the main character gets involved. I actually remember the middle daughter's name is Nico. I think it's Nico. That sounds right in my head. I don't know why I remember that. because I don't remember any of the other characters' names. But yeah, her whole thing is, you know, she's in this karate, she's the top of the school, but this guy feels like because, you know, she's only training with weaklings, they're holding her back. That, you know, she has to become better than them, so as a result, she should switch schools and move to the school with a dormitory where she'll no longer be able to see her sisters. It's conflicts, it's stakes, the main character offers to fight the guy. I do like that. There's a whole subplot with her girly side, where the karate sister has always been a tomboy. I do kind of wonder about that. Like, the show doesn't really explore it, but they, outside of with the middle sister, the eldest sister acts as a prince, the middle sister is a tomboy, and then the youngest sister doesn't really care about her appearance at all. Like, she wears clothes for shogi, but outside of that, like, they're all kind of masculine coded in ways. And I wonder if the manga goes deeper into that. Because outside of the middle child mentioning that she's a tomboy, and the eldest mentioning that she's always worn, like, shorts and pants, you don't really get that much with it. But I do in theory like the subplot of the karate daughter wanting to be more feminine, and embracing her femininity makes her a better person. I specifically think of The World God Only Knows, which also had a similar plot point with a karate girl who, you know, was her father's only child, but, you know, embraced being masculine to make her father proud, eventually learning to embrace her feminine side. Admittedly, The World God Only Knows works so well with that because, like, it literally splits her into two people, one masculine, one feminine, and they literally do have a karate fight. The World God Only Knows is a lot of fun. I really do enjoy that anime. But no, the middle is, I get the plot point. I feel like they should have focused on that a little bit more. But other than that, I enjoyed it. And then the youngest daughter, her whole thing is she's in the shogi tournaments, but she's got this rival. And the rival lives and breathes shogi. You know, they fought many times before, but she's never actually won. But while the rival lives and breathes shogi, as shogi, if you don't know, it's kind of like chess. The youngest daughter doesn't care about it at all. She's just doing it because she's good at it. Which, that's a plot point I do really like. That, you know, the eldest sister is passionate about her acting. The middle sister is passionate about the karate. The youngest sister does shogi because she's good at it, not because she has any passion for it. That's an interesting plot point, and that she feels disconnected from her sisters because of it. And I would kind of hope that, you know, eventually the main character convinces her, like, oh, well, you do care. You just care about, you know, your sisters and your family. And doing good at shogi is you showing that you care. I get that, but I do kind of hope that in the manga she eventually does find something she does care about and is passionate about. I don't know if this show is popular. I don't know if it's getting a second season or whatnot. But I enjoyed it enough that I'd watch more. Would I pick up the manga? I don't know, maybe. I picked up Quintessential Quintuplets, so anything's possible. But no, I enjoyed the show. I like the 3 arcs. I like the characters. You know, they all have their little romantic moments with him, and I think some of them are very cute. Again, it's a lot like Quintessential Quintuplets. That is the easiest comparison. I thought for a moment they might have been written by the same author, because I could totally see that. But no, it's actually the author for Quintessential Quintuplets did Go-Go Loser Ranger, which is another pretty decent anime that I do enjoy, even if I'm not a big, like, Power Rangers guy. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed the anime. I'd recommend it. I had a fun time with it. But, you know, it's a romance harem anime, so do with that what you will. I enjoy a good romance anime every once in a while. I guess that takes us to our misc. Do I want to do an outro? Not yet. Because, I mean, I said I was going to give it an hour. We're almost at an hour, but I'm also so fucking close. I just need one good run. What really kills me is it's not any, like some of these early areas I can do perfect every time. It's some of the, that Hammer Bros area, that one's gonna suck. But I feel like I'm close. Anything else? I mean, I've been playing the Pokemon DLC a little bit. It's fine. I'll be honest, the main base game of Pokemon Legends EA has a formula. You know, you meet a new character, you go do some events, you know, you get introduced to some new areas, do some ZA Royale battles. Eventually, you know, you meet this new character, you learn about their plot, go help them out. Then you have to do some evil Mega Pokemon, some Rogue Mega Evolutions. And then inevitably you fight whoever, you know, the new character is. Because that's how the game is. Pokemon Legends EA is very formulaic, but I enjoy the formula well enough. The Mega Dimensions DLC is even more formulaic. You end up, you know, you talk to Corbeau, he gives you a mission to go do these research tasks. Either before or after you do the research tasks, you help out 2 of the supporting side characters, which I do like that they're throwing around the side characters in new combinations, because every side character has a main character and then a supporting character. So you've got Ivor and his sister Gwen. You've got Corbeau and his assistant Felipe. You've got Hyacinth and her maid/slave Labane. I like that this DLC is like throwing them around in new combinations. So we get to see, you know, Ivor and Canary interact. We get to see Gwen and Labane interact. I like that it's doing that. There's a lot more to this DLC than I thought. Like, outside of the main story, there's also a bunch of side quests. But getting, because you have, kind of like in the base game, you have to do the ZA Royale to get a bunch of points to level up. You have to do the same thing here, but it feels so much more repetitive. Like, I felt like grinding the ZA Royale wasn't actually that bad. Because you can do, like, it's pretty easy to do, like, 30 to 40 battles in a single night. In this, grinding, you can only grind so many points per Mega Dimension, and then you have to, like, open a new one. And the time limit. I know in in Pikmin games, in Pikmin 1, I know some people don't like the time limit. They find it stressful. I disagree. In Pokemon, however, I actually find the time limit very stressful. There was something about this whole donut, and like, I know, the better donuts you use, the more time you have. But sometimes it's very stressful. Because sometimes you're cutting it so close to the wire, and you're just missing like one. Oh, you have to do one more catch that's that's, you know, undetected, and you're just not having good luck with it. And you know, all the Pokemon are level 140. I find it to be stressful. I find it to be very repetitive in some ways. I don't hate the DLC. I'm not having a terrible time, but the DLC definitely has issues. The new Mega battles, like, there's a bunch of new Mega Pokemon. I'm finding them very hard. I don't know if that's just me, but some of them have been kicking my ass and have taken me multiple retries. I know, oh, get good. I mean, I brought back my cat, Donut the Meowstick, because, spoiler alert, they gave Meowstick a Mega Evolution. And I don't know if it's actually any good, but I really like the design. And I'm glad I was able to, you know, it got me to bring back Meowstick. It's level 100 now. I got my Donut the cat, I got my Mongo. I guess I'm the Carl. I don't know, it's fun. But no, I'm not hating the game, but I'm definitely taking my sweet-ass time with Pokemon Legends ZA. I'll say that, with the Mega Dimensions DLC. I do like that some of the Mega Stones are locked behind side quests, because in the base game, you only get them from either the shop or from the main story. I like that in this one, no, they've locked some Mega Stones behind side quests. And some of those side quests can actually be very neat. I liked the Raichu one, for example. I did not like the Crabrawler one. That one sucked. But no, I'm enjoying Legends ZA's DLC. I find it just kind of repetitive. And it's taking me, you know, I'm taking my sweet time with it because of that. Would I recommend it? Would I recommend... I mean, if you're not a Pokemon fan, it's not going to change your mind. But yeah, it adds a fair chunk of post-game content. Anything else? I guess... No. I guess... Okay, here's my thing. We got one more stream left, which is the final, Game of the Year. We got Game of the Year next week, which will be episode 52. But I also... There was a new Minecraft update last week. Now, when I looked into it, I had been told that there wasn't a new achievement in the new Minecraft update, because the Copper Age didn't have a new achievement. So I just figured there wasn't a new achievement. Turns out I was wrong. There is a new achievement in the new update. So well, yes, we are next week doing Game of the Year 2025 in review. I do think at some point, probably tomorrow, I'm going to stream Minecraft. We'll sit down for an hour to get the new achievement. It doesn't look that hard. I think we can do it in like an hour or two. So that is my plan. I want to sit down, we're going to play Minecraft for an hour or two, and get that new achievement. Hey, Rosalina. We did it! We 100% Mario Galaxy 2. I've never done that before. It was okay. I'll be honest. The base game is good, but some of those green stars are very repetitive. I do think some of those green stars are very repetitive. Having it 999,000 star bits, yeah, it wasn't too bad because, we could grind it, but I could see how that could be annoying. But you only have to do it once. So, like, if I were to start up a new save, I would not have to get all the star bits again, as far as I'm aware. But no, I did enjoy the game. I did. I'm glad I've done the green stars, but I think I'm good with Mario Odyssey Mario for a while. Actually, 3D Mario. We might be playing some 2D Mario in the near future. Because we played Sunshine this year. Did we play 64? We played Sunshine and we played both the Galaxy games. I kind of want to go back and do some of the older ones, like the original. I want to do Super Mario Bros. 3. I want to do some of the older ones. I had an idea for Super Mario Land that sounded kind of fun. So we might be doing some of that in the future. Also, I want to do the DS games. I want to do New Super Mario Bros. DS and New Super Mario Bros. 2. Because I've not played those games in over a decade. But I think that's what we're going to end off for the night. So yeah, we'll be back next week with Game of the Year. We'll be back tomorrow with Minecraft. So I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.